It's going to be 4 hours long, and hopefully its time will suggest we'll get some great wrestling out of it. Hey guys, Fred here, and I'm excited for SummerSlam 2015. Seriously, this card looks fantastic, and here at the CC Network, we're ready to offer up the predictions for this card. Honestly, this looks to be the best SummerSlam card in some time in terms of star power and quality that we look to be receiving. Then again, SummerSlam, and historically, in the last 5 years, has produced pay-per-view of the year when everything else doesn't seem to work, although WrestleMania 30 won out last year, and this year, WrestleMania 31 will have to take a lot of good stuff from this show to be beaten. So, when you think about it, this SummerSlam, if it delivers with the right amount of pacing, the right card order, and in general, the fact that it doesn't waste its time, it should be an entertaining show. It's what we're all hoping for, and the fact we have Jon Stewart hosting this thing couldn't get any better, really, could it? And I'm looking at this show thinking we have 10 matches, we haven't got a pre-show announced yet, so any of the lower matches that I'm going to go through first could end up on this pre-show. Now, could be one match, could be two. And if they do end up on the pre-show, I won't give them any of my time in the review because, as you know, if you've watched my videos before, I do not review pre-show matches and count them into the final rating because they're not in the actual show when it goes out live on air across the world. So it makes sense, I guess. Let's get straight into the action. And first up, we have the match that I believe will be on the pre-show, because WrestleMania already made it fantastic, so why not continue that trend at these big shows? We're going to have the 8-man tag team tournament-style crazy, overbooked clusterfuck that is the Tag Team Championship match, with the Primetime Players defending against the New Day, Los Matadors for some reason, and the Lucha Dragons. Now, this may be an unpopular decision. I want the Primetime Players to lose the championships. They've been good champions, but their matches haven't been that entertaining on pay-per-view, which for me doesn't really stand out well for them. Then again, they have just faced against the New Day, and honestly, those matches, while entertaining to a degree, haven't been floating my boat. And I feel that both of those two teams have had their feud run its course, and the Matadors, what the hell are they doing in there? Seriously, you could have put the Ascension in, it would have actually made some sense to have a heel-face team dynamic, but, I don't know, WWE's booking, I guess, to make everything fun and high-flying, you know. But then it comes to the Lucha Dragons. Now, they've been understated on Raw, and honestly haven't been on pay-per-view for God knows how long, but they have been entertaining us and building some momentum with the Primetime Players in recent weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if the Primetime Players get eliminated, say second team out, and the New Day are left alone with the Lucha Dragons, you'd have to put it past them to give them the championships. I mean, the Primetime Players being eliminated by the New Day would make sense, especially if they've got Xavier Woods to, you know, play his proverbial third-man role and do the job. And inevitably, I'm looking at this thinking, we haven't seen a lot of pre-show title changes. I mean, the New Age Outlaws won the tag titles at the Royal Rumble a year or two ago. We had Cesaro beating Santino Marella at SummerSlam 3 years ago. And we had Wade Barrett losing the IC title to The Miz at WrestleMania 29. So there haven't been that many title changes on pre-shows. I'm thinking, if you want to make this show look good for the network, give people who watch the pre-show something they can actually go crazy over and say, hey, did you miss the pre-show? Oh, that's too bad. You missed seeing new tag champs. And inevitably, I want to see the Lucha Dragons succeed. I just wish they had much more momentum on their side, but nonetheless, I would like to see it. New champions in the Lucha Dragons. It would be fantastic, and it would get the show off to a riveting start before whatever the hell ends up following it. First up on the main card, which is in no particular order, by the way, except for importance, you may all hurt me for saying that this is the bottom of the list of importance, but that really depends on how the match is executed. It is the Triple Threat Divas Tag Team Elimination match, which features Team Bella, PCB and Team Bad all going at it in what I should think to be a massive clusterfuck. And I believe the rules are only one getting pinned will eliminate the whole team kind of thing, because if it's any larger than that, it may become quite irritating to keep track of, and inevitably take up more time than it probably should get. Then again, I'm expecting this to get over 10 minutes. What the hell do I even care? Nonetheless, The result is easy to predict. The Bellas and Alicia Fox are going to walk out of this victorious because the Bellas have been pinned or made to submit pretty much every week since the NXT Divas came up last month, and inevitably they need to stand their dominance. The only question is, who the hell ends up getting pinned by the Bellas or made to tap out by the Bellas to get that victory? And a lot of people have been saying Charlotte because she's going to go after the Divas Championship, going into Night of Champions, going into the rest of the year. I wouldn't put it past them. That sounds like a fantastic idea. However, if Sasha Banks loses the NXT Women's Championship to Bayley, which, for my sake, I hope to God she does, she could be the one to get pinned or made to tap out. Or maybe it's a double pin tap out situation where there is no clear winner. Didn't think I'd ever figure that into the situation. But overall, that could be a good scenario. You know, putting Sasha Banks and Charlotte involved in this title picture. Maybe it would actually be pretty good to have some diversity against Nikki for the championship. And hopefully she will lose the championship at the next pay-per-view because, as I've said for the past 3 pay-per-views, she's had the title for way too long. And she needs to lose it. Simple. So yeah, I'm going to go for Charlotte or Sasha Banks to technically be the one to get the pin. Mostly because it makes sense storyline-wise, and the Bellas overall will come out victorious. Then again, who gets pinned in each team to eliminate them, and which order does Team Bad or PCB get eliminated in? Who bloody knows? I may be a person who analyses and predicts these things, but sometimes when you've got this many factors in one match, it sometimes can be a bit challenging to really think about it without your head hurting. So I'll go for the Bellas to win, and I'm going to make a bold prediction that it's some kind of technical bullcrap to inevitably make Sasha Banks and Charlotte go forward in a triple threat for Night of Champions. You think I'm crazy? You should check out the rest of my predictions for these matches. Now it's time for the tag team comic book fueled match. And honestly, 3 tag matches or 3 multi-man matches already? Well, this is a major payday, you might as well make it so. We have Neville and the Green Arrow himself, Stephen Amell, taking on Stardust and the Cosmic King, King Barrett. And you know what? I don't even need to go into detail what the result of this match is going to be. Stardust and King Barrett are going to lose. You do not even need to put money on it because it's guaranteed. A celebrity is involved. Therefore, victory is 100% assured and confirmed. If you do not think this, then I honestly believe something may be wrong with you inside your brain skulls. But nonetheless, I really want to see what Stephen Amell does here. Apparently he busted his jaw in training, so Neville will probably work most of this match, allowing for Stephen Amell to do something that will contribute to the victory, as is per every single celebrity match that isn't Floyd Mayweather versus The Big Show. But inevitably, if he actually does more than I think and impresses us, it should be a good thing to watch, because this guy apparently is a huge fan of pro wrestling, and he takes his very seriously. I mean, why would he be training for it? And inevitably cause an injury that could ruin the booking of the entire match. Nonetheless, the victory is 100% assured. You can guarantee that. Next up, we have this match, which is obvious, and so obvious to predict as well. It's Rusev versus Dolph Ziggler. This is so easy to predict, I could do it with my eyes closed. In fact, you can't see it, but I already am. Fantastic. Nonetheless, Dolph Ziggler's getting the win. He's just returned from an injury. Rusev is going to get beaten, and Summer Rae is going to be completely annihilated by an irate Lana. All sound good? I don't even need to explain it. We can just move on to the next match. And that match, well, it's not one that I'm mostly excited for, which is Randy Orton versus a Sheamus. And inevitably, the last match that they had at Battleground didn't light my soul on fire. Seriously, a 1.5, 1.75 star match. I kind of expected more from these guys. Hopefully the intensity will be ramped up. And honestly, this could open the show. It may do. I'm not entirely sure if it will. But inevitably, I look at this match and think, I can't see Orton winning because he won the last one. So, by deduction alone, Sheamus has got this in the bag, just because it makes sense for the feud. I mean, is he going to be interfering in the title match later on in the evening? Maybe. I don't actually really know yet. I haven't gotten to the title match to figure that out. But then again, you don't really have to lose a match to then go on and win. Because, of course, if Sheamus beats Orton, they're going to hype it up saying, ooh, he's won tonight, he could be on a roll, he's confident, he could go out there and rock the world and win the championship. And that's the thing. If you think about it, WWE will want to throw us a little bit of a curveball if a lot of fans don't think about this. But if they do, maybe they will make sure that Sheamus doesn't cash it in now. Because SummerSlam, we've had a few cash-ins here at SummerSlam in recent times. With Del Rio, Orton himself, and, well, I think that's about it. Getting their Money in the Bank briefcases out and using them to great effect. Inevitably, SummerSlam has just become a Money in the Bank cash-in hotspot. And honestly, I don't want to see that this year, but I will get to the reasons why in my prediction for the championship match. Nonetheless, Sheamus for the win, because it'll be nice to see it. Next up, we have the Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat match involving Ryback, the incumbent champion, The Miz, and The Big Show. Kind of funny, I could have said the Ryback, and we would have had the for every single name, but meh, what am I going to do? Nonetheless, we get to a point where it's obvious to tell that Ryback is going to walk out of this with the IC strap still around his shoulder. It's simple. If he hadn't have had the staph infection, maybe it would have been different. Maybe he would have lost the title, meaning a win at SummerSlam, getting the title back would have been necessary. But as this feud has gone along, it doesn't look like he's going to do it. Especially, why would you kill the momentum? It wouldn't make any sense. I think The Miz being pinned here would be definitely good, because then you can have Big Show versus Ryback in a retirement match for the Big Show at Night of Champions, making it some kind of centerpiece, and it should all work out there. But then again, Big Show getting pinned and having to retire at SummerSlam, pretty big story coming out of this match. It will be pretty awesome. Nonetheless, whatever happens, whoever gets pinned, Ryback is coming out of this match with the title. You can be assured of that. Now for a match that I am looking forward to so much that the prospect of it pretty much had me salivating all the way to the bank. Ladies and gentlemen, Cesaro versus Kevin Owens. I don't know where this is going to be placed on the card, but my God, wherever it's going to be, this is going to be a brilliant, technical, physical, story-driven, aggressive encounter. You can hear it in the tone of my voice. I am excited as hell to see this. Then you know what? I'm going to go against many of the consensi of all the fans who say Cesaro is going to win because reasons, and the fact he's on a bit of a face run. Here's the kicker. Kevin Owens lost to John Cena at Battleground, did he not? And inevitably, I would think he needs to regain some momentum. As I always say, if you lose a match and look like $1 million, it really doesn't matter if you lose. Thing is, who is the loser in this match? If it turns out to be a well-paced, well-structured, well-made match with great moves and exciting near falls, this could be a brilliant match and will be regardless of who wins. But then again, honestly, Cesaro losing this match, probably through some dirty tactic or through just being purely out-wrestled, would inevitably show the fans, hey, this guy is amazing, but he doesn't have to win all the time. And they'll get behind him to will him on for victory later down the line, which is exactly what people want to do. And honestly, for Kevin Owens' sake, he's not going to win the NXT title in that ladder match at the next TakeOver event, which is technically today. Oh boy, I hope to God I end up watching it, because my network has not been working properly the last few days. Nonetheless, Kevin Owens winning, for me, makes sense, especially when you try to balance face wins and heel wins on this card. And honestly, it doesn't really matter whether Cesaro wins or loses, he's over. A loss will only springboard him forward, and a win, well, that'll just send him into the stratosphere, and Lord knows what WWE will do if he does win, because, honestly, WWE's booking with Cesaro has been so up and down, I can't predict where it's going to go from here. So, I think a loss would be best to safeguard him and keep Kevin Owens in the limelight to stop people from saying John Cena buries people. If you've seen my first part of the Q&A, yeah, you know my views on that. It's a stupid idea. You know all the rest of it. Kevin Owens for the win, and honestly, I just want to see the match get above 4 stars. I'm hoping it will do. Let's hope it delivers. Now on to the big matches, starting off with the Wyatt family taking on Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, the Bros in Arms. And that's not a tag name, I've just made it up for the lulz. Nonetheless, this is an interesting dilemma, because either way, I don't want either team to lose this match, but then again, it's easy to see the writing on the wall. You look at the fact that Roman has had a loss to Bray at the last pay-per-view, he needs to get a win, does he not? I mean, if you're going to have a tag match going forward unto Night of Champions, maybe they do, to balance it out and then have some intrigue going into the final contest. But I look at Wyatt and just think, yeah, you beat Roman Reigns, you had to do it with some cheap tactics and interference, but you beat him, you're going to have to realise you're not going to win here. It's simple. But then people have been throwing the idea around that one of the two faces could turn heel. Now, people have thought for ages, oh, if Seth Rollins got chucked out of the Authority, they'd jump on Roman Reigns and he would turn heel, etc., etc. That, of course, hasn't happened because we haven't seen this Authority crap with Seth Rollins turn out how I expected, so that won't happen. Dean Ambrose, will he? As good Mike Work and a lot of others have highlighted, he's been saying on and off all the time that, hey, we're brothers, and they're emphasising it. So someone could get stabbed in the back. And a heel Dean Ambrose? I'm salivating just thinking about it, which is a detriment to my talking, but nonetheless, I look at this match, it's difficult to predict when those kinds of odds are in the mix, because Dean Ambrose could turn heel and have the Wyatts win, allowing the Wyatts to get momentum going forward to what may be a tag title run if the Primetime Players are still champs or Lucha Dragons do it or anything else in the matter, or they keep going on to feud each other going forward. But then, I just don't think a heel turn would make sense, you know? We've got a good amount of heels, we just don't have enough faces to work with them, which is a mantra I have reversed from years ago. But I look at this match and just think, it's written on the wall that Ambrose and Reigns are going to win. I can't see anything else. No matter all of these ideas of heel turns and screwy finishes and returns of Eric Rowan that people have been thinking could happen but may not. I don't really care, because this match should be entertaining, but as long as it isn't made predictable, there's a lot of near falls, a lot of unbelievable things that make us suspend our disbelief and think, well, these guys may not have a chance. It should be all good. Now for the match that's harder to predict than the main event itself, which is surprising. Ladies and gentlemen, it is John Cena, Seth Rollins, WWE World Title versus US Title, winner take all. It's everything up for grabs. And you know what? I'm right when I say this is difficult to predict, because you have, on one side, John Cena and Seth Rollins, who honestly hasn't looked very good coming out of most of his title victories on pay-per-view. And then you've got the idea of a possible Sheamus interference and a Money in the Bank cash-in. Oh boy, this could be interesting. It could be a lot of things, but inevitably, let's take a look at it. You have John Cena. I know a lot of people have been saying to me, and through Q&A questions especially, that John Cena will win the titles because he always does. Cena wins, lol. He'll bury Seth Rollins like he did Rusev and Kevin Owens, which I've already highlighted isn't the case. You all can look at the Q&A to understand why. And I look at this and just say to myself, really? Are you really going to go with the Cena wins lol mentality, considering at SummerSlam in recent years, John Cena has lost? I mean, seriously, Bryan and Lesnar in 2 consecutive years. I mean, not to mention the fact he lost to Punk in 2011 as well. You see my point. You look at Cena's recent record at SummerSlam, it's been abysmal. He hasn't won a single match in like 3 of the last 4 years. You think, I can't even remember if he actually, oh no, it was the Triple Threat in 2012. He lost that as well. You see my point here? 4 matches over the last 5 years, he's lost. And inevitably, the record seems to continue here. But of course, it's John Cena. But then the question comes in, why would you have a 15-time World Championship shirt made if you're going to end up changing the number on the back straight after you've just announced it? Seems a bit weird. I think a lot of people will agree with that. But I look at Seth and think, okay, he hasn't come out of pay-per-views looking the best in recent matches, apart from the Dean Ambrose Money in the Bank ladder match, which is my pay-per-view match of the year. I look at Seth and think, okay, he could easily win this through a douchebag interference or some dirty finishing through ulterior motives. But I think about it in a bigger, broader picture. The US title is what matters in this match, because the world title doesn't really matter who it ends up on, but you look at the US title. What is Seth going to do with that title? Pretty much nothing. He's the world champ. But then you look at what Cena. He gets the world title. Will he be treating the US title with the same level of gravitas he's done in the last 4 or 5 months? Who knows? I then look further down and think, well, do you really want Seth Rollins to be the guy who takes John Cena out? I'd rather see someone who actually can put him through his paces in a brilliant match and do it and build a career. That's what it's there for. The US title means a ton, and it sounds fantastic that someone could do it. But why Seth? I mean, sure, that will show WWE's stock in Rollins, which some people think isn't even there. Stupid. I look at this and say to myself, the US title won't work if Cena loses it, and if Rollins gets it, what is going to happen? But then, that's why you have the idea of Sheamus coming in and cashing in Money in the Bank before the match is over and winning the WWE title, meaning that Cena doesn't lose that championship. He doesn't lose the US championship by definition of the rules, and inevitably it's only between Cena and Rollins that title will change hands on. But here's the problem. I've said earlier I didn't want Sheamus to come in because, okay, sure, I'd rather see him lose his contract push than anything else, but I look at it and say I want Seth to come out of this, no matter what happens, as the winner. I don't want Sheamus helping Rollins get a sly, cheap victory and saying, hey, I beat Sheamus and John Cena like I beat Reigns and Lesnar at WrestleMania. It would still sound amazing. But seriously, if you tap out John Cena on TV weeks leading up, you need a rebound. You need to be in a good position. Of course, though, after what Cena said about Triple H and tying Ric Flair's record, maybe Triple H comes down to interfere. It's probably unlikely, and it would actually make sense for Triple H to do so, considering what was said last week. But I look at it and think, I would rather have Cena wrestle Rollins to the wire and Rollins get the win. But then again, like you were all going to say to me, it's John Cena. Sheamus has to come in to make it actually look like a fair fight, which is a really weird thing to say. And I'm looking at it this way. For me, Seth Rollins winning makes most sense storyline-wise, and honestly, if they have to make more matches out of it, so bloody be it. You then have Sheamus interfering in Night of Champions, you get a triple threat Hell in a Cell. I take my money, I'd love that. So, John Cena winning doesn't make much sense. Seth Rollins winning the US title, though? I want Seth to win, but I don't want him winning the US title at the same time. This is so confusing. So maybe the Sheamus thing does make sense. Maybe having Sheamus win the world title will be good for this. But you know what? Maybe if Sheamus does come in, it completely annuls the US title changing hands as a result. If there's some kind of loophole there, then Rollins can defend his title and not gain the US championship. And you know what? If that's the way that Rollins gets the victory, and inevitably Sheamus is made to look like a fool for attempting so, and Cena keeps that US title, it does its job. I mean, not to mention the fact I've already highlighted in my predictions, Sheamus would have already won in the night. So he already would have had momentum. Sure, he'll lose the briefcase, but he will still be in the forefront of everyone's eyes. And honestly, in the shadow of the main event, do you really want Sheamus winning the title to be the thing that overshadows and gets lost in the shuffle of what happens later on? I don't know. It doesn't seem right. So he either loses it, or he wins it. But overall, regardless of all of this maligned, clusterfucked stuff that is a prediction, I'm going to say Seth Rollins will defeat John Cena. However, that US title will not be going with him, thanks to the interference of a Money Bank cashing Sheamus. Whew. That took longer than I expected. Let's just keep going. And now, finally we reach the main event. The match too big for WrestleMania, so it rests at a SummerSlam? Alright, I'll take that. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Beast vs. Phenom. This, I am hoping, delivers on what I believe it can deliver on, because without a stipulation, this has to be an all-out brawl, ref being taken out of the equation, these two need to beat the ever-loving crap out of each other, as they have done in no DQ matches and Hell in a Cells prior, about 12, 13 years ago. I look at this match, I can only see one outcome, and people may get angry at me for suggesting it. Undertaker winning. Now, this may be a little bit of a stun from me, because I honestly think Brock Lesnar, as a beast, doesn't need to be beaten by Taker. But then you look at the feud and think, Taker hasn't beaten Lesnar ever. He's lost his streak, he's out for revenge, he's being a dick heel, he's kicking him in the nuts to get the upper hand. Maybe he'll get interference with Kane coming back in, which I hope doesn't happen, but it's always a possibility. You look at the idea behind it, the dynamics behind the feud, where Lesnar, honestly, has to lose to someone at some point, which made the thing that happened with Seth Rollins so fluky that inevitably he hasn't lost momentum at all. And I'm thinking, okay, someone has to bunk off Lesnar at some point. Why not have it be someone who it benefits for storyline reasons and it won't hurt Lesnar one bit, which is Taker? I mean, he manhandled him before, surely, but this is a Taker who isn't just running the usual periodical. He wants to go in and brutalize the guy, so he's going in with a different sense of reason behind it. So you'd suspect that Taker would come out winner, which is where all this comes from. But then you look at Lesnar and think, he manhandled him before. He could do the same again. And honestly, it would make sense if he did. And also, Lesnar has been made to be Undertaker's bitch since Battleground. Seriously, chokeslams, low blows, tombstones, and on Raw in front of his hometown, he was laid out for all to see. And I'm thinking to myself, that sets it up. Wrestling 101 dictates, as always, if you are laid out prior to the pay-per-view happening on the go-home show, you will win. However, that hasn't always been the case, has it? As noted by Lesnar beating the crap out of Rollins' Stooges, and it ended up in a DQ victory for him, but not the championship. So, here's my point proving itself. But I look at this match, I just think there are so many things you could think about. But honestly, this match, this entire feud, in fact, can hinge on one outcome at the end of it. For me, it doesn't really matter who wins here, because honestly, it's who wins at the next time I believe these two will meet. They won't meet inside Hell in a Cell again, I'm definitely certain. What I want in this feud is if Lesnar or Taker wins. In the case of Lesnar, he becomes really cocky. Heyman is a complete douchebag, saying Taker is broken, Taker is done. He can't do this anymore. He's just going to have to be dead and buried like the rest of them. Or in the case of Taker, and it comes down to some screwy heelish finish with Kane or whoever else involved, we end up seeing Heyman and Lesnar pissed, saying that they will go out there with a shovel and they will bury The Undertaker. You see where I'm going with this? Survivor Series this year is the 25th anniversary of Taker's debut. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't get the match here at SummerSlam. We might as well have it at Survivor Series with that huge milestone looming above it. Taker versus Lesnar one more time, buried alive. I have been looking for this one. I got robbed of it in 2003, but still got an entertaining match out of it regardless. And I'm looking at this thinking, this is where Sting, who comes in with his baseball bat in tow, will bury Undertaker in that grave once, for example, Lesnar gets taken out by a tombstone. And then bang, in comes Sting, baseball bat in hand, Scorpion Death Drop, and he buries Taker, setting up the match for WrestleMania 32. But that's in the future. It doesn't really factor into what's happening here at SummerSlam. But if you look at that here, it doesn't matter who wins. Because if my ideas of future booking are correct, this should all work out. It should all be there. Taker versus Lesnar will end in that kind of match. But inevitably, it's now thinking, who is going to be the one to fire the shot? Kane coming back to help Taker makes logical sense. Taker being brutalized despite the build-up makes some form of sense knowing the history. You know what? I'm going to say it out here now. Taker gets the win. I just somehow, regardless of how Lesnar's been booked and all this, I don't think he's going to win. It just won't make sense for me in the story. If Kane does return, fine. It means Taker will win. If Taker wins outright clean, it happens. And Taker will make Lesnar pissed, as I've already mentioned. Sting won't be here. I'm sorry, this is not the time for Sting to interfere and make himself known, planting the seeds for WrestleMania 32. To me, that won't make sense. So in all, Taker winning will advance the story forward. How he does it? I have no idea, and that's why I'm looking forward to this pay-per-view to find out how. Well guys, SummerSlam 2015 predictions are done, and it was a bit of a hard slog, but we got there. What are your thoughts on SummerSlam this year? Do you think it'll be good? What are your predictions for it? Put the comments down there in the comment section. I'll be happy to read them. And also, I'm going to point this out. Do you think the 4 hours will be enough? I mean, WrestleMania 29 had to cut matches from its card because it went too long. Think about that for a second. They could have the same problems here if they don't time things properly, which is a major worry. What will Jon Stewart do? Will he interfere? Which I hadn't even factored at this point. Nonetheless, this should be a great show. The card looks strong. The matches have potential all over the place. It should be good. And I will be live tweeting occasionally throughout the night. And not to mention, we have the NXT thing tonight as well. I mean, this is all good, isn't it? Wrestling overload, people. And you know what? My weekend of video making isn't even done yet. Because not only have I got the review to come out on Monday, Tuesday, the second part of the Q&A is coming out tomorrow. So you want to check that out along with my review when that gets made. All you have to do is click that subscribe button to keep up with everything that CC Network puts out. Which also reminds me, once those reviews are done, I have 2 videos to keep making because the Summer Spectacular went a bit tits up. Nonetheless, I will get those to you as soon as I feasibly can. Nonetheless, everything carries on as normal. SummerSlam, you better give me a good pay-per-view or this change to 4 hours may be one of the worst decisions you ever make. I have been Freddie Thomas, you've been people listening. This has been the SummerSlam 2015 predictions for the CC Network, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers!